If you spend enough time looking really closely at businesses, especially in, high stakes, physically demanding industries, you start to notice this very specific divide.
Yeah, it's almost baffling sometimes.
It really is. It's like watching two completely different realities playing out on the exact same stage.
Mm.
On one side, you have operators who just look perpetually exhausted.
Oh, absolutely. Running on empty.
Right, they're sprinting from dawn until dusk, constantly patching holes, managing the latest disaster, and just, running entirely on adrenaline and caffeine.
Just putting out fires all day.
Exactly. But then on the other side of the divide, operating in the exact same volatile environment, you have businesses that just seem to hum along quietly. They're steady, they're predictable.
Which brings us to you, right?
Yes, exactly. Today, we are speaking directly to you, the South African fleet owner or operator, because your industry is, well, it's the ultimate testing ground for this phenomenon.
It really is the perfect lens, honestly. I mean, the South African transport and logistics sector is just an absolute pressure cooker.
Oh, for sure.
You're dealing with intense, unpredictable variables constantly, and the margins for error are just razor thin. It's the kind of environment that ruthlessly exposes any weakness in how an operation is put together.
Right. Which brings us to the core mission for today's deep dive. We're going to figure out why, in this exact same environment, some transport businesses are constantly fighting those fires, while others navigate the chaos with this deliberate control.
It's a huge contrast.
It really is. And we're pulling our insights today from a fantastic piece of source material by Greystride. It's titled The Difference Between Reactive and Structured Transport Businesses.
It's a great read.
Yeah, it really gets to the heart of what separates operators who are merely surviving from the ones who are, building something sustainable.
And I think the beauty of the Greystride piece is how it just strips away all the excuses.
Yeah.
It forces us to look past all those external factors and focus strictly on the internal mechanics of the business.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because Greystride makes a point that you, listening right now, know all too well. Every single transport operator in South Africa faces the exact same macro environment.
Right. Nobody's getting a secret, VIP discount on diesel.
Exactly. Every single fleet is dealing with the same fuel price hikes, the same demanding customer expectations, the same complex cross-border customs delays.
And the deteriorating secondary roads, don't forget those.
Ooh, you can't forget those. The external pressures are just identical across the board.
And that is the foundational analytical framework we have to establish before we go any further. Because the difference in outcomes between a chaotic fleet and a calm, profitable fleet, it's rarely the market they operate in, or even the clients they serve.
Right, they're driving the exact same N3 corridor.
Exactly. The difference comes down entirely to how the business itself is engineered. So the guiding question for our analysis today is simple, but it's a bit uncomfortable.
Lay it on us.
Are you designing your business to actively handle complexity, or are you just trying to tread water and keep up with it?
Wow, yeah. That sets up a really fascinating observation from the source about what they call the lucky fleet.
Oh, the lucky fleet, yes.
Because if you're grinding away, feeling the heat, and you look over at a competitor whose trucks always seem to be moving, their client retention is sky high, and their cash flow just looks remarkably healthy.
It's so tempting to just write them off as lucky.
It really is. You think, well, they must just catch all the breaks. They must have easier clients or, I don't know, drivers who never make mistakes.
It's a very natural psychological defense mechanism, honestly. We tend to attribute someone else's smooth sailing to favorable weather.
Right.
Rather than acknowledging, they might just have built a superior vessel.
And we hear that cliche all the time, right? The two ships in a storm. But I think that completely misses the mechanical reality of what you guys actually do.
How?
Let's look at it like a network. A reactive transport business operates like a single taut chain. Every single link, the dispatch, the driver, the maintenance, the invoicing, it all relies on this extreme tension holding it together.
And usually that tension is just the founder's sheer willpower.
Exactly. But if one link gets hit, if one thing goes wrong, the whole chain snaps.
Yeah.
A structured business, on the other hand, operates more like a mesh network. It's designed so that if one node fails, like a truck breaks down or a driver is fatigued, the system automatically routes around the failure.
Without the whole structure just collapsing.
Right, exactly.
What's fascinating here is that this mesh network concept is exactly what Greystride is pointing toward. The outcomes you see from the outside, the smooth operations, the trucks consistently on the road, that financial stability.
Yeah.
It's never the result of luck. It is the result of deliberate, meticulous design. The structured business has actually taken the time to anticipate the inevitable failures.
Because they know a truck will eventually break down.
Exactly. They know a client will suddenly change a delivery window, so they've engineered the mesh network to absorb that shock.
So when you look at that competitor who seems to have it so easy, it's vital to internalize that they haven't found a secret pothole-free highway.
No, they're hitting the same bumps you are.
Exactly. The gap between you and them isn't luck, it's structure. They've just built a chassis that absorbs the impact without breaking the axle.
And to really understand the mechanical value of that structure, we need to take a hard look at the alternative. We have to examine what actually happens inside a business that lacks that deliberate design.
The anatomy is a reactive business. The Greystride article gets incredibly specific here, and honestly, just reading through the daily operations of a reactive fleet, it's exhausting.
It really is. It's described as this perpetual pivot from one crisis to the next.
Let's ground this in a real scenario. Say it's a Thursday afternoon. A heavy rig breaks down near Harrismith. The driver is panicking. Instantly, what happens in a reactive business?
Well, every ounce of management bandwidth suddenly shifts to that single-stranded vehicle.
Yeah.
The owner or the operations manager, they drop whatever they were doing. They get on the phone, frantically trying to locate a mechanic in the area who can handle that specific engine fault.
Just scrambling.
Completely scrambling. They're negotiating rates on the fly, trying to figure out if there's an account open with a local supplier. They might even be authorizing a massive payment on a personal credit card just to get things moving.
And while all of that frantic energy is directed at the breakdown near Harrismith, another plate back at the office starts to wobble and fall.
Because they aren't paying attention to anything else.
Right, because the owner is consumed with the truck. The complex diesel rebate administration that was supposed to be filed that afternoon is just ignored. The invoicing for the week gets pushed back.
And then by Friday morning, cash flow is suddenly tight.
Exactly. Now everyone drops the repair issue, which by the way is still ongoing, and starts frantically chasing outstanding invoices just to make payroll by 5 p.m.
It's a nightmare.
And then the client whose freight is sitting on that broken down truck calls. They're furious about the delay, and all resources are violently redirected again to smooth things over. It is a relentless, punishing cycle of reaction.
It really is.
But wait, hold on. Let's look at this from the operator's perspective for a second. Isn't this exactly what being an agile entrepreneur is all about?
How do you mean?
Well, we're constantly told that modern businesses must be responsive to the customer. If a truck goes down and a client's freight is at risk, I can't just ignore it to focus on back-end paperwork, right? If I don't jump on that grenade, I lose the contract. I go out of business. So isn't that just agility?
See, that is the exact trap. And it's a brilliant point, which the source actually addresses head-on. Greystride is very clear here. None of these reactive responses are wrong in isolation.
Okay.
If a truck breaks down, it absolutely must be fixed. If a client is irate, they have to be managed. You cannot let the fire burn the house down.
Right, obviously.
The problem isn't the response itself. The problem is that a business built entirely on crisis management is incapable of moving forward.
Ah, I see. It's the difference between agility and pure panic. Like, agility implies a system adapting to a change. Reaction is just a human scrambling.
Precisely. In a reactive model, every single decision, every allocation of capital, every unit of leadership focus, it's all dictated by today's most urgent crisis.
Rather than tomorrow's priorities.
Exactly. You are permanently playing defense. And when 100% of your energy goes into simply not losing today, you have zero capacity left to design a strategy to actually win tomorrow.
Wow. And this brings us to a massive psychological insight that I think drives this whole dynamic. When you first start a transport business, you kind of have to be the chief problem solver, right?
Oh, absolutely. You're wearing all the hats.
You are the hero. You hustle, you pull off miracles, you make the impossible happen, and your early clients love you for it. Fixing that broken down truck gives you this massive dopamine hit.
You feel completely indispensable.
Yes, but the Greystride piece suggests that this exact trait, this founder heroism, it becomes toxic when you try to scale.
It becomes the primary bottleneck of the entire operation.
How so?
Well, relying on individual memory, the founder's gut instincts and quick off-the-cuff decisions, that works passably well for a micro-operation.
Sure, when it's small.
Right. If you have 2 or 3 trucks, you can theoretically hold the entire state of your business in your head. Every maintenance quirk, every driver's schedule, every client's specific preference.
But the mental hard drive eventually gets full.
It doesn't just get full, it shatters. As a fleet grows, complexity doesn't just add up linearly, it multiplies exponentially. You don't just have more trucks, you have geometrically more variables.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
You have intricate cross-border customs nuances, diverse supplier payment terms, stringent driver fatigue management protocols, and complex service-level agreements with enterprise clients.
Right, you simply cannot hold the cross-border paperwork nuances for 15 different routes in your head alongside the maintenance schedule for 20 trailers. It's impossible.
Exactly. So when a business scales without structure, that vital information still only lives in the heads of a few specific people.
And that's dangerous.
Very. What happens when the one dispatcher who knows exactly how to placate your most difficult client is out sick? A minor delay that should have been a routine email turns into a blown contract.
Man.
The business doesn't have an operational framework, it just has a collection of highly stressed individuals trying to remember everything at once. And so small issues inevitably snowball into devastatingly expensive problems.
A collection of highly stressed individuals trying to remember everything. That perfectly captures the breaking point. And it sets up the pivot Greystride makes toward the solution, which is redefining what structure actually means.
Right.
Because let's be honest, for a lot of operators listening, the word structure triggers an immediate allergic reaction.
Oh, totally. It sounds like corporate bureaucracy. It conjures images of endless clipboards, slow administration, unnecessary meetings.
Just red tape that is going to bog down a business that relies on speed.
Exactly. Fleet owners think structure is a speed bump designed to slow them down.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Greystride flips this entirely. Think about driving a heavy rig with 34 tons of payload down Sir Lowry's Pass.
Okay.
It's steep, it's winding, and it's dangerous. Structure isn't the brake pedal. Structure is the heavy steel guardrails on the edge of the cliff.
I love that analogy.
Right. Those guardrails aren't there to restrict your movement. They're there to give you the confidence to maintain your velocity. They allow you to drive the pass efficiently, knowing that if you hit a patch of oil or make a slight miscalculation, the system will catch you before you go over the edge.
It saves you from disaster.
Exactly. Structure is what creates business velocity.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that concept of velocity is crucial. Structure creates clarity, which creates speed. It is the framework that allows good, profitable decisions to happen consistently.
Without the founder needing to be in the room to authorize every single one of them.
Exactly. It's about establishing documented commercial standards for planning work, monitoring performance, and managing costs.
Let's break down the actual mechanics of that. What does a defined commercial standard look like in practice compared to our earlier breakdown scenario? Let's say that same truck blows a tire on the N3.
Okay, in the structured business, the owner isn't the one scrambling.
Right.
The driver follows a standard operating procedure, an SOP. They log the issue. A pre-vetted national tire vendor with whom the company already has an active account and a pre-negotiated service level agreement is automatically contacted.
Wow, automatic.
Yep. The vendor dispatches a team immediately. The internal dispatcher clicks a button in their system that sends an automated notification to the client, buying a 2-hour buffer window.
And what is the owner doing during all of this?
The owner is in the office, calmly finishing the invoicing to ensure next week's cash flow is secured.
That's incredible.
They don't even know the tire blew until they review the weekly maintenance exception report on Monday morning. That is the mesh network in action.
Yeah.
The information has been taken out of the founder's head and embedded into the DNA of the business itself.
That is the mechanical blueprint of a scalable fleet right there. The process dictates the solution, not a frantic phone call. And this ties directly back to handling the raw chaos of the South African transport industry.
Absolutely.
The source is very pragmatic here. Structured businesses do not have a magic shield against reality. They still suffer equipment failures. They still face massive macroeconomic shifts, unexpected border closures, wild customer demands.
The defining difference is anticipation and bandwidth. Because the structured operator has robust systems managing the routine variables, because they have financial dashboards that spot a cash flow dip 3 weeks before it becomes a payroll crisis, they have the mental bandwidth and the capital reserves available to handle the truly unexpected anomalies.
Because the sheer volume of decisions that have to be made under extreme adrenaline-fueled pressure is drastically reduced.
Exactly. They aren't trying to invent a payment process on the fly while a truck is smoking on the side of the highway.
Right, the commercial standard already exists for that scenario.
Yeah.
They absorb complexity without becoming overwhelmed by it. They control their own internal performance, rather than allowing external events to dictate their daily reality.
They transition from being a victim of their operating environment to being the master of their own operations.
So what does this all mean? If we pull all these threads together from the Greystride deep dive, the ultimate takeaway for you, the fleet operator, is a massive reality check, but also a message of incredible empowerment.
Very empowering, yeah.
Volatility in the South African transport industry is guaranteed.
Yeah.
You cannot vote away the potholes or negotiate with a global fuel crisis. But your level of internal preparedness is entirely within your control.
The most resilient, profitable transport businesses are never built on a foundation of constant urgency and heroic firefighting. They're built on boring, predictable, repeatable systems.
Moving your business from a state of reaction to a state of structure isn't about fundamentally changing what you do. You are still moving freight from point A to point B.
Right.
It is entirely about changing how you do it. It requires a profound psychological shift in how you deploy your leadership energy. You have to willingly step away from the dopamine hit of putting out daily fires and commit to the hard, methodical, unglamorous work of fireproofing the building.
It takes discipline.
It does. You have to stop working exclusively in the business, pulling the levers, and start working on the business, building the machine itself.
It's the transition from operator to architect.
Yes, exactly.
And this raises an important question, which serves as a final, incredibly revealing test of your current structure.
Okay, let's hear it.
If the core vulnerability of a reactive transport business is that all the vital operational intelligence lives strictly in the heads of a few key individuals,
Right.
what happens to your fleet tomorrow if your single most experienced dispatcher wins the lottery and quits?
Oh, man.
Or, more importantly, what happens if you, the founder, completely turn off your phone and take a 1-month vacation in the mountains? Does your business continue to generate profit and serve clients smoothly? Or does it instantly grind to a halt?
That's the real test.
Ultimately, you have to ask yourself, have you built a business that can survive the absence of its own creator?